Are we seeing a changing of the guard in the hockey card investing world? We'll chat about that and go over the leaked Series 2 Young Guns checklist on today's show. This is episode 36 of the Hockey Card Haven podcast. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome. This is episode 36 of the Hockey Card Haven podcast, powered by Slab Sharks, with myself, Mike Distefano, and my co-host, Anthony Santini. We're a weekly Wednesday show diving deep into the world of hockey card collecting, flipping, and investing. You can find us up on YouTube, and also for you on-the-go listeners, you can find us on Spotify as well, and soon to be up on Apple Podcasts. What's going on, Anth? How you feeling on a Wednesday, pal?
What's up, buddy? Feeling pretty good. Got the day off from school today. Was able to hit the gym, go for a little bit of a walk in this crazy cold. It's been ridiculous walking outside. It's nuts.
What compelled you to go walk out? It's like it feels like minus 30 outside.
Just
minus
needing to
30 Celsius, which is, I'll check and see what the conversion is for American listeners, but minus 30 Celsius is cold as hell.
Just going out and needing to walk my dog. I mean, I wasn't happy to take him out. I think he was excited at first. When he steps outside, he was ready to just pack it in. I had a jacket on him. He still wasn't happy. I don't think he's looking to go for many more walks the rest of the week, and neither am I, because it is nippy out there. It's brutal.
Dude, it's a polar vortex. Like, they got a name for this thing. A polar vortex, supposed to be it's going to get up to as cold as, or feel as cold as, negative 40 degrees Celsius. But yeah, negative 30 degrees Celsius is negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit. So anyone down in the States, when you sit there and you're like, oh, it's 10 degrees, it's so cold. Imagine it being negative 22. That's what it's like here in Toronto right now during this polar vortex that we're currently experiencing. Yeah, bundle up, stay indoors, stay safe, because it is cold as hell outside. It's not one to be walking around, that's for sure. Busy weekend of card shows, Anthony. You know, it felt like kind of, I don't know, the first big weekend of card shows since the return, post Christmas, post New Year, right? We had the CSC show, which both of us attended, which was awesome. Had a lot of fun setting up there on the Saturday, and made a lot of great deals, some good connections. Some people came up to us and said hello. So shout out to those guys. They're doing awesome work over there. And then, I set up at the M&L show on the Sunday. I know there was a couple other shows. The Hamilton Collecticon one was going off. So honestly, it was a busy weekend. And we've got a lot to get into today. We both had some great pickups over the weekend, so we'll get into those. But there was something that kind of went down during the show that made me think that maybe the hockey card world, or the investing, flipping world of things, is going in a bit of a different direction. I want to get into that chat also today. So it should be a fun show. But just a reminder that the Hockey Card Haven podcast is now powered by Slab Sharks. We got a new little logo down below, the lower third, powered by Slab Sharks. It's the #1 sports consignment company in Canada. They've got thousands of listings each week. And Anthony, as we like to do each and every week, let's take a peek at a few of the cards from this week's Thursday night auction. But I do want to show a couple of the big hitters first before we get into what our favorite cards are, because I think that there's a couple of really, really cool cards that are out there. A couple of PSA 10 Alex Ovechkin rookie cards, Young Guns, and they're up over $6,000 already for PSA 10 OV Young Guns, and there's still over a day to go. His market continues to climb as he inches closer to that Gretzky record.
Yeah, I mean, I expected a little bit of a setback for Ovechkin's prices when he got injured. We did see that just a little bit, but now with the pace that he's scoring on, I don't know about some of the empty netters that he's been getting. I know the past 2 weeks, I think he's piled up a couple, but I think he's going to come.
How he's got to get there, though.
I know.
That's how he's got to get there this year.
I'm not loving it, but we'll see. I do think that this year he will get the record. I think the coolest story of it all will be him potentially getting the record on game 82 at Pittsburgh against Sidney Crosby. I think that would be awesome. But right now, it's a great spot to have or pick up an Ovechkin Young Guns. And Slab Sharks has 2 of them right now, just reaching over $6,000 with just a day and a little bit left on auction.
Speaking of the Pittsburgh Penguins, they also got a Sidney Crosby Future Watch auto and a PSA 9 with a 10 autograph out there. It's up to $4,500, which seemed like a pretty cheap price right now. I would think that this thing is definitely going to end up getting bid up over the next couple of days because I don't see that going for $4,500.
No, $4,500 is way too cheap. 2 days and 5 hours left on this one at the time of recording. I still think there's a lot of room for this one to increase in price.
And then to continue with the theme here of Future Watch autos, you got an Austin Matthews one out there as well. BGS 9.5 slab with the 10 auto. It's up to 3K already. And still, of course, 1 day, 6 hours to go for that one. So a couple of big hitters out there in the hockey card market. You can find them over at Slab Sharks. But Anthony, we have a couple of cards that we like to look at each and every week. Some of our favorites that are part of the thousands of cards available on the Slab Sharks weekly auctions. Why don't we kick things off with your first card? And it's a beautiful Kyle Connor Black Future Watch auto. And you don't see these Black Future Watch autos very often. So this one is definitely a special one to pop up here.
Yeah, I want to pinpoint this one too. Cal Connor's a guy that I always found underrated. I talk about his prices and his market. It feels way too cheap. Like you see his PSA 10s going for 70, 80, 90, $100 at best. Sometimes it feels like. And to see a Future Watch pop up, not only a Future Watch, but a Future Watch Black. And we know just how short printed these are. They are quote unquote out of five. So for anyone that doesn't know exactly what the Future Watch Black Auto is, it's a variation of some sort of the Future Watch out of 9.99, the traditional rookie card autograph for rookie players. And for this one to pop up on auction, you don't see it all the time, especially for a player of Kyle Connor's caliber. Me personally, I'm going to keep my eye on this one because I like to buy Kyle Connor stuff, but it's tough to really get behind his market because it's always so undervalued, so hard to gauge why people don't want to keep buying him. He's a sniper on a Canadian market, on a Stanley Cup contender. So I do think if they could break through and make it past the first round, second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, this could be a great card to pick up this week and maybe hold on until late June. So
Yeah, and I mean, I guarantee you that is not going to go that cheap. I saw this weekend a Bobby McMahon Future Watch Black Auto that I think
oh.
had a $500 price tag on it. So Kyle Connor, little bit, of a more established player, a little bit of a better player, I would say. So yeah, I think that we're going to see that number get bid up, and typically because Slab Sharks, there's like how many watchers are on this thing right now? Like there's got to be a bunch of watchers. Hold on, let me pull it up here and see how many people are watching it. Why can I not view it? 64. We'll make it 65 people watching this thing. So you're going to have a big bidding war in the final hour, 30, 20 minutes, the final 30 seconds. You're going to see this number probably end up like quadrupling with people just throwing their best offers out there. But that is a beautiful card and a special card at that. Speaking of Bobby McMahon, he also is featured in your pickups this week, or not your pickups, your Slab Sharks auction finds this week.
So this was the card that I was looking for actually, because a couple weeks ago I mentioned to you, I also mentioned to Brandon, the other member of the Hockey Card Haven, that I feel like Bobby McMahon is so undervalued for a Toronto Maple Leaf player that scores goals too. It's not that he just plays on the team and that's what makes his price increase happen in his market, but McMahon could score 20 plus goals for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He probably will. The only issue I find is I think with him being a solidified third liner, it's been tough for him to creep up the second and the first line. He's dwindled and maybe, flirted with that line with Matthews and Marner, but I don't think it's going to happen with how well Nyes is playing. For $5, I really think that his young guns are a great price right now. For $275, I think his high gloss is an amazing price right now. I don't love the grade. I don't love it's a PSA 8, but I do think that if this card could stay under $300, I'm going to be very interested. I think personally his market is fair for a high gloss right now, but a very rare card that you don't see all the time. And this is exactly what you get when you
What
start looking through Slab Shark auctions.
what do you think this goes for? I think we see this card hit 400.
See, I'm gonna just say around 350 to 375, and I think that's a pretty handsome selling point for it. Because he's a Leaf, obviously prices are going to be a little bit more expensive. Rightfully so. His play does reflect it. But I think like if I saw this thing at a show for 275, $300, I would think personally that's a sweet spot. But you never know. Sometimes the rare cards, that's why they get sent to Slab Sharks, because you have 40 plus people watching the auction, and people are going to pay a premium for a premium item. This is exactly what that Bobby McMahon Young Guns High Gloss is. Arguably one of the best rookie cards to pick up for a
There's only
player.
10 of them, right? There's only
Sure.
10 high glosses out there. There's got to be at least 10 Bobby McMahon collectors that will bid each other up to get this. So I can see this inching up quite a bit more, in my opinion. But we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with good old Bobby McMatthews, as we've once called him in the past. All right. Here are a couple of cards that I am taking a look at in this week's auction. So here's the first one that I like, and it is a Pavel Bure 1997 Pinnacle totally certified Pavel Bure Platinum Mirror Gold number to 30. It's a PSA 9, and I was absolutely astonished by what this bid is currently at. Look at this bid. It's right now at $2,800. And I just could not fathom why that was the case. And I think it brought up a you know, a thought in my head that like not all 90s junk wax era cards are built the same. Like everyone always says, "Oh, I have a bunch of cards at home. I wonder if they're worth anything." And the first question they usually ask me is, "Oh, well, when are they from?" And usually they'll respond with, "Oh, like a bunch of stuff from the 90s." And usually I'll say, "Ah, it's probably worthless." Like a lot of the 90s junk wax era, not really worth a whole lot. That's not necessarily true. There are some diamond in the rough cards, and like this set seems to be one of them, the 1997 Pinnacle Certified set. Because there's also the another one that is part of the Slab Sharks auctions this week that is fetching a pretty penny, not quite as high as that one, but a Timu Solani is already up to $530 in a PSA 9. This one still has the peel off wrapper. But the same thing, it's the Pinnacle, totally certified platinum mirror gold number to 30, got the number to 30 on the back, and somehow is up over $500. There's just a massive collector's base for this card, and also for the Pavel Bure one. And it just, I don't know, reminded me that like some stuff, especially the lower end stuff from the 90s, actually does have a lot of value to certain collectors. And it really scratches that nostalgia bone and itches that nostalgia. And it's not all just about modern, and it's not all just about super vintage. There is that sweet spot in certain inserts and refractors and lower end numbered stuff that still does have a lot of interest in the hobby. And I was curious, like, what would it take to buy a box of this Pinnacle stuff? Like, if you could pull cards that are worth 500, 2,500 bucks, like that Bure's up to right now, like what does it cost to get a box? Because if it's cheap, like most 90s wax, I was thinking about picking up a whole bunch of them, ripping them, and seeing what we could do. But no, it's not. It's not a cheap box at all. It's a $500 box for this 97 Pinnacle. So not all 90s junk wax era cards are built the same. And that's kind of what I learned. And I only learned that because I was just looking through, the Slab Sharks auctions, and I saw these cards. I saw, why are they so expensive? I just went to go and look into them. I did a little bit of research and I learned something about these cards. And I don't know, it kind of got me interested in different, I don't know, different style of cards, different ways to invest, stuff that other collectors like, that maybe the beginner collector or the beginner investor doesn't necessarily think of. There's just a whole other world out there of hockey cards that I feel like is kind of untapped and underappreciated and not talked about a lot, but it does have its fans and it does create inherent value within that.
Yeah, you just have to know exactly what you're looking for too. Traditionally, when you talk to people and you tell them, "Oh, I collect sports cards," they say, "Oh, well, as a kid, I used to collect in the '90s. I have all kinds of stuff. Maybe, you could help me take a look." I've had that conversation many, many times, and it always turns out the same result with the same similar cards that you see all the time. And for an example like this, it's just these rare cards that pop up from the '90s. Like you said, it scratches the perfect bone. Another one too. Look at that Timu Salami. I guess it's just the out of 30 golds. They're beauties and they have the peel offs too. Actually, this one wasn't peeled off, which I
Yeah.
know some people are very, very against peeling off the, I guess, protective surface that protects it. But for one, have never collected too much or dabbled into the 1997 Pinnacle set, but I definitely appreciate a beautiful looking card. I mean, the Timu Salami and the previous one, the Bure, was just a beauty.
Yeah, this Bure one is sick, and as someone who grew up like, a Canucks fan, like this Bure to 30, real, real sick. And I saw the price. I'm like, what is so special about this card? And like, I wouldn't say there's anything like that special about it. It's just, obviously something that a set that a lot of people love to collect from the 90s, and there's only 30 of them, and supply and demand makes it a very valuable card. It's got 92 watchers. There's more watchers on this Pavel Bure than there was on the Ovies and on the Crosbys. Like it just goes to show that it is a very popular set, popular cards, and supply and demand is what pushes this hobby forward. And that's why it's pushed this number up to 2,800. It's crazy for this card. But hey, someone's willing to pay it because someone has to finish off their set, and there's only a finite number of these cards available. And it feels like, if they don't come around all too often. So it's kind of funny to see not one, but two of these cards kind of pop up. And it kind of leads me to one of the first discussions that I want to have today. And it's got something to do with the flipping market, I suppose, which is an angle of investing. You've got your long-term investors and your short-term investors, right? Short-term, I would consider people who like to flip stuff. And it seemed like in the past, like Young Guns was the main subject of the flipping market, right? Whether it's graded, whether it's raw, or whatever it may be. You buy a Young Gun, you hope that the player does well, it appreciates, and then you try and move it quickly, right? That's kind of been it's the easy way to enter the market. What I would say most people when they got into the hobby, 4 years ago when this thing exploded again, that was kind of what fueled the hobby. Like, I don't know if that's still necessarily the case. Like, you can push back on it if you feel differently, but I don't seem like me myself when I'm setting up at card shows, I don't seem to be selling as many Young Guns nowadays as I used to. Like, how often, Anthony, do you get people asking like for raw Young Guns when they come up to your table?
I mean, it's almost never now. Like you never see people actually going after young guns, going after players that they really want. And I know it sounds crazy because that's the traditional way to collect cards and collect rookie cards. When you talk to people, you say, "What is a rookie card in hockey?" You tell them it's the young gun. But as of late, I have sold little to none raw young guns of players. It's always, always, always PSA 9 or PSA 10s of some of the top 5, top 10 players in the league, and everyone else is just kind of a sit and a waiting game. For example, and I know it kind of touches on your conversation too, a Jake Sanderson Young Gun, $10 it costs you to purchase one just about. You're not going to find them for $5 and you're not going to sell them for $7. It's that weird in between that I think happens right now, especially with the raw Young Guns, that is so, so awkward. There's so many awkward little percentages and margins that find it such a struggle to go out and sell it. Like you're not going to pick up a Sanderson for 5, you're not going to sell it for 10. So where do you go buy it? Where do people come up to you and they say, "Oh, I'm looking to buy as many as I can"? It hasn't happened to me in a long, long time. So it's getting very frustrating.
No, like it feels like it's not part of the flipping market anymore. You still have those odd collectors like myself. Like my collecting goal is to own every Young Guns possible. So, I've got a list of guys that I still need and I'll go through, oh, you got this guy, that guy, and that's to finish off a set. But when it comes to like investing and flipping these things, it does not seem to be, still a massive avenue. I mean, the high end Slabbed ones, absolutely. Like Matthews, McKinnon's, McDavid, Young Guns, those things are flying off the shelves. I've been selling those left, right, and center. But you bring up Jake Sanderson, or how about like a Tim Stützle? Like you said, you were able to buy a Tim Stützle this weekend for dirt cheap. And the reason why you're able to buy it for so cheap is because, well, no one else is buying it at like the price that it used to be a year ago. So it continues to just go down and go down and down, and no one's buying this stuff until finally, you hit a price. Would you pay $20 for a Stützle Young Gun raw? And it seems crazy because that's a card that you were able to get 40, bucks for all year long a season ago. Now it's cut in half, and no one's walking up to the table and asking, "Oh, you got any Stützle?" It's just not happening.
Yeah, and I think what makes that happen too is just the condition of cards, the availability for cards too, and we already know that with Young Guns, although they are rare, they are inserts in a sense, they are not technically rare. There's almost an asterisk right beside the word rare because there's so many printed, and over the past 5 years, we've only seen that increase. How many Bedards we see at PSA now? That was a conversation all summer, all winter,
Yeah,
and now we're just seeing an insane amount of Young Guns being printed. You're seeing them all over the place. Now there's the Outburst, the exclusives, the out of
deluxe.
250, the out of 25. It's just getting way too much. The clear cut exclusive. There's almost 8 to 9 different parallels of Young Guns that it's way too much to handle. I think people in the future are really going to start looking at alternative options for rookie cards.
Well, I don't know if it'll necessarily get to that. I still think that, people will want to own the young guns of like their favorite players. I still think it'll definitely hold weight in the collector's world. I just don't know if it's going to be, part of the flippers market that much longer. I think it's because what you just noted, like they're not rare. And I think maybe it's also because so many people entered the hobby like 3, 4 years ago. And when you first enter the hobby, that's what you go after. But now everyone's kind of seasoned and they're learning and they're evolving as collectors and as investors, and they're realizing these things aren't that rare. So maybe they don't have that much value to them because they're a dime a dozen. And maybe that's the biggest reason for why it's happening. I think the hobby's just kind of evolving in a way. And not that they're going away from the young guns, but it's just not the be all end all anymore, perhaps. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but like you you do pretty well online. Like you're on Instagram and you try and move a lot of your young guns on Instagram. Like I saw you do an IG story the other day trying to move some young guns lots. Like, did you get some bites? Did they move?
I think that right now the best way to sell Young Guns is in lots. It's so tough to sell Young Guns just straight up. I was able to move 3 Renskis together, and I think just the reasoning behind that is because if people are going to collect Young Guns, they want to collect it in bulk. If they're going to go after someone, they're going to collect it in bulk. They're not just going to buy one particular Young Gun and find that they make an insane, very good margin on it. You're not going to pick up a $50 Young Gun and then sell it for $200 the next day. People, like you mentioned, are getting more seasoned now. They're seasoned investors that understand what the market looks like. You're not going to find snipes anymore on Young Guns unless it's in the dollar bin, which if you are looking for snipes, we had a great conversation last week talking about some of the dollar bin finds that we were going to look for at the CSC show. And I was actually pretty successful finding some of them. But right now, it's just tough, very tough to sell Young Guns just as are. One Young Gun for $12, one Young Gun for $15. Very, very tough to find bites on that. But when you could group them together, buy them in bulk, and sell them in bulk, that's when you could start to find some success. Because, like we said, these cards are not rare. They're always going to be available at card shows. And the biggest issue with them when you have them as your main selling point at a card show is you have to have the best price in the room, which I think is very, very tough when you are selling Young Guns.
That is absolute, and that's why I think the flip, like specifically, we're talking about the flip game. Like, I still think the collector's market, people still want the young guns, but if you're looking to flip them, like you have to continue to undercut and undersell your cards, and it just eats into your profits. And it's like this might not be worth it. Whereas, like, everyone's looking at a comp and they're like, okay, it sold for this much, so can I get it for that? Or, oh, there's a guy over there selling it for 10. Can you meet that price, or can you give it to me for 8 or something like that? Like, that's the biggest issue is there's just so many of them that the market, the price kind of dictates itself. Whereas if you go for, more shorter printed stuff, or you go for, I don't know, like the Future Watch autos, for example, like there's less of those. There's still a lot of them, but there's less of them. Like that makes it a little bit easier, right? Or I even have, let's say this. So this is a short printed rookie auto. Let's say from Skybox of Connor Zary I picked up over the weekend. It's 1 in 400 packs. Like for this rookie here, it's not numbered, but like it's a short printed, rookie auto set. Like this just for people who want to pick up Connor Zary, like that's going to be one where you can probably get more money. You're not going to have to undercut yourself because no one else is going to have that in the room. You're probably the only one. So if someone wants a nice Zary auto, they're going to have to pay your price. But if they want a Zary Young Guns, well, they can go to the next guy next to you, or the guy 2 rows down, or the guy 4 rows to your right. That's just the way that it is, and everyone has to try and undercut their prices. So, yeah, it's an interesting, I don't know, shift maybe we're seeing in the hobby where young guns just aren't as desirable in the flippers market as they once were a couple of years ago when things really started to pop off. I think we're evolving as a market, and people are tending to go into more rarer, more scarce items. But yeah, that was kind of a chat that I wanted to have today. So I was just curious if you have any final words on that little conversation.
I mean, the biggest thing, my biggest takeaway happened a couple months ago, similar and actually a big learning curve, I think, just for me in the hobby. And it was my experience collecting Dylan Gunther. The past 2 years, I was all over Dylan Gunther. He's going to be a star. He's going to be a star. Buy his cards now. So I started picking up his Young Guns for around $5 to $10. Ended up moving a lot of them for an increased amount, obviously. Did well. And to start the season, he was just incredible.
Yeah.
They were flying off the shelves, but the margins weren't really that good. Sure, it was just kind of double up, whatever it might be. But I was talking to another Dylan Gunther collector at a show, the TNT show, just a couple weeks ago. He had all kinds of the best Dylan Gunther out of 3 from the cup, the ones with the button patch, the out of 249, or sorry, the out of 99 from the cup, inscribed Future Watch autos, all of the best Dylan Gunther cards that you could find if you're looking to collect them. And he was telling me that those are the cards that you really want to collect, because when
Yeah.
those cards start to shoot up, they shoot up. It's not that you just double up having a bunch of young guns on you. I'm talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 600% on some of these cards because they're just so desirable, so rare, and you're not going to find them everywhere. So I think going forward, if you are looking to collect a player, if you're really sold on a player, depending on your budget and how deep your wallet is, start taking a look, start dabbling at some of this player's best cards. The Future Watch, the Cup, all kinds of that good stuff. Exquisite.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. That's a good point. So Young Guns is it might be the most known rookie card, but it's also, the least scarce rookie card. And supply and demand is what really fuels the hobby. So that should tell you something right there. All right, before we get into hobby news, Anthony, I'm part of the Discord channel for the Hockey Card Gong Show, and somebody went and um, I don't know. There was a funny little. uh, There's a, what do they call it? Like a thread, I guess we'll call it a thread on their Discord channel, just like funny cards, like just funny or stupid cards, or ones that make people look dumb. And I saw one that was posted the other day, and I was absolutely howling. Now did not show it to you. I was gonna send it to you, and I was like, no, I'm gonna show you live on the pod to get your actual real reaction to this, because it was absolutely hilarious looking at this thing. So I'm going to pull this up. It's a Matty Beniers Metal Universe Retro PMG from this past season. And I just
Okay.
can't believe that this made it through onto
Oh
a hockey
my
card.
God.
Look at this. The dude
Oh boy.
how does Upper Deck look at this and not say, "Huh, this might convey to differently to people, and it might look like something else is happening here."
Yeah, that's definitely I could see why. I believe you said the thread was funky looking cards. That's definitely a funky
Dude,
looking
look
card.
look at his
I
face.
I
It's the
I don't
face, it's the white.
I don't understand what they were trying to maybe if I knew exactly what they were trying to get at here,
Dude, I have
and
no
I
idea.
know for our YouTube listeners, I don't know if you for our Spotify listeners, if you wanna give them a little bit of a explanation of what's going on right now, because this
Well,
is a very interesting card, probably one of the most interesting that I've ever seen. I don't see what they were trying to get out of this card. I don't even know what's the excuse here? I don't understand what this is supposed to be at all.
I do not know either. So, yeah, for the listeners of the podcast, go to eBay and search in 2023 Metal Universe Matty Beniers retro blue PMG. Or actually, it's just retro PMG because the red one's the exact same thing. But basically, it's a retro PMG. It's like a cartoonish figure of Matty Beniers. It's like a side angle profile, but right down in like his groinal area, there's a really weird like white coming out of him. And it's like, what are you doing? It's almost as if, I don't know how to explain, like Spider-Man, like when Spider-Man lets the web go out of his arms. That's almost like what it looks like, but it's coming out of Bernier's groinal area, if you can think about that for two
Oh,
seconds. I don't know what the hell Upper Deck was thinking with this card, but that is honestly one that I want to get in my collection.
oh,
I
jeez.
truly,
Oh,
truly want to get.
jeez.
Dude, this is just a funny story. Like, imagine putting this in your showcase. Like that would get people to stop and talk to you, get them in a good mood. You don't think so?
I think it would be a great for conversation. That price, $499 is a little bit outrageous. I don't know if that's exactly what the market for this card is going for, but
Well,
that is
here's the thing. Here's a possibility of this. Like, have you seen the hot dog Phil Kessel Stanley Cup Day with the Cup card?
um, that is a card that I really need in my PC. That is a card that I've seen it one time at a card show. I think it was going for 4 or $500, and I was really thinking about pulling
Yeah,
the trigger
it's like
because I wanted it so bad, but it's just one of those cards.
it's like $800 now. Let me actually pull it up so that
Crazy.
people know what I'm talking about here. But yeah, it's like an $800 card now. But I think that like it's because it's like a meme card, right? Like it's basically what it is. It's almost like a meme card, and
Yeah.
Day with the Cup. And
Phil
I think
Keller.
that this card could potentially have the same, you know, kind of have the same vibe at some point. Yeah, here's
Yeah,
the Day with the Cup of old Phil with the hot dogs.
Oh my god. This card is
Oh,
so fun.
man,
This is one of the
so
best
funny.
cards ever. This is one of the best cards. I don't know. I mean, I think investing in meme cards is pretty sweet. Kinda like meme coins almost for cryptocurrency, but obviously there is that risk to it. This card is just incredible, like, just incredible.
This. Look
This
at
is
this.
just one of the best sports cards I've ever seen. I saw it at the expo one time. It was about 4 or $500, like I mentioned, and I really wanted to buy it, but I just couldn't. I couldn't get myself to explain a purchase of $400 for Phil Kessel holding hot dogs in the Stanley Cup.
I mean, they're super short print. Like now they're not. You can find them all the time now. But they were super short print back in the day, back when that card was pulled. So, you know, there's not a large supply of that card, but because it's Phil Kessel, it's Maple Leafs, it's hot dogs, and everyone knows Hot Dog Phil, the story that came out in the Sun a few years ago, probably about a decade or so now, 15 years ago, maybe. Like that's why that's just like it's just it's a meme card, and it's worth a lot of money because a lot of people just want to have it for the story, for the laughs. And I feel like this Beniers card will have the same effect because it's just so funny. Like I personally want this card. I personally would love to have this Matty Beniers card in my collection.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I personally will stay away from the Beniers cards. I would rather put my money into that Phil Kessel card, which hopefully, fingers crossed, I think in the future I'll be able to collect it. I really want to start building my personal collection. I think that that's one of the top 10 cards that I need to go down with because I think it's such a beauty.
All right, let's get to some hobby news here, Anthony. And I think the biggest news of the hobby over the course of the last week was the Series 2 Young Guns list was leaked, apparently. Um, Upper Deck had a bunch of people, had a bunch of dealers, diamond dealers, come over to Upper Deck, and they had a big show or trade show for them, or conference, I think is the proper word to use for their diamond dealers. Somebody snagged a pic of the Series 2 hockey checklist, and we now kind of know what this checklist is going to look like. So I'll pull it up for anyone so that they can see what the checklist is going to look like as well. But you can see right there at the top of the list, number 451, Macklin Celebrini. Anthony, Macklin Celebrini will in fact be in Series 2. We did expect that to be the case. He was the number one overall pick this year. That's typically where the number one pick ends up being, the first card of Series 2. But what did surprise me a little bit is a name you look a little bit further down the list and you get to Matvei Michkov. So they didn't separate the two, Anthony. Looks like Celebrini and Michkov will both appear in Series 2. I think that's great for the hobby.
Yeah, I think it's exciting because last year with Connor Bedard, they started doing a little bit of the separation with Bedard and Fantilli, and it was a smart move by Upper Deck. I think it's great when you have more boxes selling, more people ripping into packs. But for us collectors, it's nice to have these super sets almost where players are all together. Macklin Celebrini, obviously one of the biggest names coming out of this rookie crop, and I feel like it's a great move by Upper Deck to have them together with Michkov, two players that I'm super excited to collect their young guns. And I know there's a couple other guys that you noticed from this list, and I definitely agree with too. I almost had it spot on along with yours because when I was looking at it, I started writing some notes and I said, wait, these are the exact guys that Mike's putting down. So I feel like we have a little bit of the same taste.
Yeah, like I just quickly was like, oh, what's like an early top five young guns, I guess, from this list? And obviously, Macklin Celebrini and Matvei Michkov led the way. Like Connor Geeky, the Tampa Bay Lightning, would be up there as one of the better young guns, better chases. Jet Lashenko from the Philadelphia Flyers. He played for Team Canada. Or no, Team USA rather, this year at the World Junior Championships. Callum Ritchie, Seamus Casey, who's played pretty well as a defenseman for the New Jersey Devils. He's one of those offensive, smaller statured offensive defensemen in the Lane Hudson, Quinn Hughes ilk. Not quite as good as those guys, but he's got that type of skill level. So there are some pretty good ones. But one that's really interesting, Anthony, I don't know if you notice, if you're taking a look, here, I'll pull it back up actually for those watching on YouTube. Right over here, like you see teammates, Young Guns teammates. We've never seen this before. This is a new addition to the Young Guns checklist, and you've got Michkov and Fedotov of Philadelphia, Logan Mayu and Lane Hudson of Montreal, Gauthier and Zellweger for the Ducks, Celebrini and Smith for the Sharks, and then it's cut off. That final row is cut off, but I would imagine that's probably just the checklist as number 500. But yeah, interesting addition to the Young Guns checklist, putting teammate cards in there. I don't know how I feel about this. It's new, but it also feels like maybe it does it. I don't know. Does it add to the product or water down the product, in your opinion?
I think personally it waters down the product. I mean, we've seen it so many times. The Young Guns checklist never really catch much steam in the hobby. We've seen some really good ones too. Like I know Matthews is
But
with
these aren't checklists.
Nylander.
These are teammate. These are
Yeah,
teammate
but like
names, not checklists.
yeah, it gives off like a similar type of not vibe, but similar type of what they're trying to get across with the checklist and what will more than likely be the teammate set. I would just hope that it'd be super short print. Like if these are just as accessible as the checklist, then it's
I
not going to
doubt they
be
will
very
be.
sought after. Even with Matthews and Marner, or sorry, Matthews and Nylander, they do have the Young Guns checklist, and I'm going to call these teammates set for now very similar to the checklist because even that one, Matthews and
We're
Marner,
gonna
only
disagree
goes
on
for
that. I
20
don't
bucks.
I don't I don't look at it as a checklist. I do look
Okay.
at it as like a Young Guns. Like it's different. Like it doesn't just have a checklist on the back. It's gonna have the stats and it'll have Young Guns and it's teammates and it's new, it's different, but it feels like something that should be an extended. Like extended is kind of where they
Yeah.
do, different things like this, but it feels as though they did not have enough players to use in their Young Guns for Series 2. Not enough players made their debut, I don't think, and they had to come up with something a little different. And this is what they're doing. I will say this though, you don't think that this Lane Hudson and Logan Mailloux teammates Young Guns is going to fetch a pretty penny on the open market, or is Macklin Celebrini and Will Smith? Because Will Smith's Young Gun is not in this one. He is probably going to headline extended series. So this will technically be the first Young Guns of Will Smith. It'll be on a card with Macklin Celebrini. I think there'll be a little bit of a market for these two specific ones. I think if I had to say, like Macklin Celebrini, his regular Young Gun will probably be the most highly sought after. A close second would be Matvei Michkov. And then honestly, I think we'll see the Mayu Hudson and then the Celebrini Smith as the next biggest chases when it
Hmm.
comes to the Young Guns in this set. I truly, truly believe that.
See, I don't know. I guess we can disagree on that. What do you think then? If you want to pull up the photo just one more time, what do you think that these prices could get to for the teammates? Like, I personally think, like, just running through them here, Michkov and Fedotov, I think that that card will more than likely be anywhere from like 20 to 30 bucks. Hudson Mayu could be max $50. Gautier and Zellweger should be max like 25 to 30 bucks, and the Celebrini Smith could maybe get closer to 50 bucks, anywhere near the Mayu and Hudson. I think that that is where these cards will get off on release. On release, which we know as collectors is a very big difference than months and months past when it comes out. I think months and months past, we can probably pick up these cards in the $1 to $10 bins. But I do think that it's a cool addition. I personally am going to view it as a checklist. I know you disagree, but I think maybe the Hudson one could catch some steam just because
I
of the
think it will.
Canadians market, but
That's what
everything
I think.
else is just
The Hudson
free.
and Celebrini one, the Hudson and Celebrini one. The other two probably not, but the Hudson and Celebrini one, I think we'll definitely see it. Like I agree with you on your pricing. I think we could see them go for $50, but like there's no one else like Connor Geeky, Lashenko, Callum Ritchie, like none of those guys are going to sell for $50. So I think that's why you're going to see Celebrini, Michkov, and then those two checklists probably be like the top four sellers right out of the gate when Series 2 gets released next month. That's honestly what it's kind of a crap checklist, to be honest with you. Like outside of Celebrini and Michkov, there's not a whole lot, which is why I think they felt the need to add in an extra Lane Hudson Young Guns or an extra Celebrini Young Guns. That's truly what I believe, and I do think that there will be a lot of people looking for it. I mean, do you know right now what these Lane Hudson Young Guns are going for? What was the trade that we saw? Some gentleman walked up to us at the show telling us a trade that he made. He moved off of a PSA 10 Lane Hudson Young Gun and got a Matthews 9.5, a BGS 9.5 straight up. Like, in what world does that make sense for the guy getting the Hudson? Like, that is insanity to be making that deal. I'll take a Matthews BGS 9.5 all day long over a Hudson 10, which pop count is just going to absolutely explode over the next year.
Yeah, I think on the surface level, it makes sense to acquire Austin Matthews Young Guns, especially in exchange for a defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens that has been playing well. Obviously, Lane Hudson is having an amazing rookie season. I do think that he is going to win the Calder over Celebrini. As of right now, I think he could get pretty close to point per game too with the way that he's performing. It hasn't stopped. But like you mentioned, that trade, when he told us exactly the trade that he made, it was just kind of one of those things where I sat back and said, so you're telling me you acquired an Austin Matthews Young Guns BGS 9.5 in exchange for a Lane Hudson Young Guns PSA 10? And I took another step back and I said, okay, you know what? Even though the trade might not look good in a year from now, Matthews' market isn't really doing as well as we anticipated. He's playing great on the ice, amazing on the ice, but his market hasn't reflected that as of yet because of his injury. Maybe the Hudson might be a little bit more liquid in the moment. Maybe, who knows, that person moved the Hudson already faster than they were able to move the Austin Matthews. But looking long term from now, I think 1 year from now, and anyone watching could keep receipts. Brandon, if you're watching, you could keep receipts on this too, because I know you love to keep that little receipts thing in your notes app on me. But I do think that the Lane Hudson Young Guns PSA 10 will probably go for less than $250, $300 if we want to call it. I'm talking really dirt cheap, especially when we start seeing these pop counts. Because I know someone tried to pull that card on you this weekend with the Hudson, and I believe they said to you, well, it's only a pop 200. Well,
Pop 25 apparently, which I don't think is true. It is far more than Pop 25. But yeah. I'm just looking now to see what Matthew's market is. Last sale for PSA or for BGS 95, $716 on January 13th. So, a Hudson, and that's with his market being down a little bit. A Hudson PSA 10, I would imagine is probably in the same range, but won't be for long. I don't believe, at least it won't be for long. I'll take a quick peek to see what it's coming in at. Yeah, about $700. So we're looking at the
yeah.
same price for a Hudson PSA 10 right now, 675, seeing a best offer taken at 675, 650. So, 725. So we're in the same ballpark, but yeah, that's one where I'll take that Matthews all day long. It's got far
Okay.
more long-term potential, way too much risk reward with a Lane Hudson. But yeah, so there's the 24-25 Series 2 set. Let us know. We're a little different on what we believe these teammate young guns are going to do on the open market. You let us know down below in the comments if you like them or not. There was also released today. The 2024 PWHL set was released today. It's a 70 card set, 50 player base set, and then 20 young guns. Which, interestingly enough, though, Anthony, like, I'm looking at the Young Guns checklist, and it's not rookies, but I guess because it's the first year, like, it's 2024, so it's the inaugural season. They're all young guns in the league, I suppose. Like, every single player apparently would technically be a rookie in its inaugural season. So you've got Sarah Nurse, you've got Natalie Spooner, Kendall Coyne Schofield, all of these great young players. Taylor Heisey, who was actually a rookie young gun, she's also on the checklist. I thought it was really interesting to see that on the checklist, but I guess you had to sell boxes, and you got to get some big names out there for people to know, I suppose. So I'm for it. But my question to you, Anthony, about this: will this release of the PWHL cards hurt the value of like current women's hockey market? Like, we see a lot of these Team Canada women's cards. You and I have been picking them up. We've talked about it for a while, how they're pretty good investments with the PWHL. You know, becoming a bigger league, but is that going to hurt the value of those cards if they start to get cards, out of Upper Deck in their PWHL uniforms?
See, I think it will eventually hurt the value of these Team Canada cards that we've seen the past couple months, even over the past year that you and I have started to collect, because there hasn't been the availability of young guns for female athletes as of yet. I think that it will hurt the market, but it's going to grow the market. So it's going to be a little bit of that trade off that you and I have been looking for the past year, because I still think that there's a lot of room for the PWHL to grow. I think that it should become more popular within the hobby and popular in itself too, because I did a little bit of work with the Women's Rivalry Series, watched just about every game last year, and it was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it. And I think that now with these young guns coming out, this box, in a sense, could almost be a historic set with all of the first young guns coming out for all these great female athletes. I think it's one of those boxes that if you are looking to pick up and you are a collector for the future to hold on to, this could be an opportunity to buy them now and hold on to them, because, like you said, some of the biggest names in the space of women's sports, women's hockey, are going to be in this box. Sarah Nurse, Marie-Philippe Poulin, I believe you mentioned as well.
She doesn't have a Young Guns though, which is weird. She's part of the base set, but doesn't
Okay.
not Young Guns, which I
And
found to be kind of bizarre.
I mean, even still, so many names that are popular within the space. I do think that if you do have the Team Canada cards, like you mentioned, those will face a setback in price because at the time you were buying them because it was the only good cards available for women's sports. But I do think that the trade off of an increase in price, or sorry, the decrease in price, but the availability in cards now will make it even more popular. So I'm pretty excited for it.
Well, it's funny. I'm actually taking a look right now. And on the packaging, it literally says first edition on the pack, like as if it's a Pokemon or something. First edition of the PWHL set. It's the inaugural set. But yeah, so $180 though, 179.95 for a box seems a little high to me because I believe you were able to get Series One this year for what 160. I think
Yeah.
it ended up coming out at. So for the PWHL set to be at 180, that seems a bit high to me. I mean, I get it. They want to try and set, a market price that's comparable to, the rest of the flagship sets for Upper Deck, but I don't know if there's a lot of people who are going to be willing to take a chance on this product to see what it's all about at that high of a cost. Like it's a flagship product. It should be an entry. It's the only PWHL product out there. It really should be kind of an entry level price, and at 180, I think they kind of missed the mark on that, to be quite honest with you.
No, I definitely agree. I think $180 is pretty steep for this product. I do think although it is a very exciting product, you need to be able to have a price that makes people interested in just opening up a box for fun, whatever it might be. If that's going to be $79.99, $80, $85 and above, whatever it might be. But I think $100 and up is kind of that cutoff where people start to think, well, I am very interested in, opening up a box, but how am I going to make
Well,
my money back?
Well, let's be honest. There's going to be very little resale value. Like let's just be completely honest here, Anthony. There will be very little resale value. So you're not going to get a lot of people willing to spend $180 and do it over and over and over again to create that base. Like that's going to be the issue that I think they have with these. I wouldn't be shocked if these sat on the shelf for quite some time at your local card store. But we'll see. I would love to be wrong. I would love to be wrong. Maybe there's a bigger need and want for these cards than I thought, but I'm just not 100% sure if that is going to be the case at $180. But we'll see.
Yeah, I did pull up, if you just want to show this on the screen here for our YouTube watchers, a couple recent sales of the PWHL Young Guns. And there are big names that have sold for a decent price, but not enough where you can really make your money back. $80 for a Emma Maltese Young Guns Outburst. One of the biggest sales right now is a Taylor Heisey Red Dazzler out of 25, sold for almost $2,000, which is a great
That's
sale if it was paid
crazy.
for. I mean, just an incredible opportunity if you are opening up these boxes to pull something like that. Her deluxe did sell for $30 and her base selling for $15. Probably one of the biggest names out of this set.
She
But I
is. She is. Yeah. Taylor Heisey was like rookie of the year last year, and she's going to be an incredible player. But like you get a deluxe of that player, and it's only going to recoup $30 of your box. Like, and that's on opening night, opening day of the product. Like, if you don't hit one of those big, like one of ones, rubies out of 25, like you're not going to come close to getting your money back for your product. And look,
yeah,
some people don't care about that. They just want to rip it, have fun, and that's fine. Everyone is totally okay to do that as well. But there's got to be a fine line between making it worth the money and worth the fun. But
for sure.
yeah. All right. Why don't we get to our pickups of the week here, Anthony? Why don't you start off? Show me some of the big pickups you made. It was a busy weekend. I made a lot of them this weekend. I had so much fun getting back into the hobby. And I had a couple of really great deals. I sold a lot. I bought a lot. There was a lot of moving money coming in and out of my hands over the weekend, going both
Love it.
ways. And I know you had the exact same experience yourself. So why don't you go ahead and show me some of your big pickups of the weekend?
Yeah, so I put aside 3 cards as I usually do, 3 of my favorites that kind of have a story behind it. I also know that we want to send out a special shout out to Eli that was able to hook it all up and everyone at CSC that had us as a member of the press. Also, a big shout out to Mikey Singer that allowed us at his booth. A great time at the CSC show. Definitely recommend anyone looking to attend the next ones. And I do think personally, I'm hoping that they do just a sports card show again. I know you're into the Pokemon and all the fun stuff, but me personally, I'm looking for just hockey cards, and I feel like I enjoy myself when they do shows like that. So obviously, a big shout out to everyone that attended, and for Eli for organizing us to come. So for my first pickup, I picked up this cool Leon Draisaitl on the first day. Picked this up. It's the Leon Draisaitl Amped Up. And let's see if I can get a little bit of a better focus here. But there we go.
There we go.
Leon Draisaitl out of 11, Amped Up, short print in a really sweet jersey. I love this one here. So I picked this up looking in the dollar Young Guns bin, got a little bit lucky finding this one a little bit cheaper. It wasn't $1. I mean, it was definitely cheaper than I anticipated, but I was really happy to pick this one up. I do think that this is a sweet card for eBay. And like you mentioned too,
Just a value bin, Anthony. They're called value bins.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could. Yeah, I guess.
What do you think? You think it's a Young Gun dollar bin, or is it a value bin? What do you think makes more sense?
Well, I mean, technically, the $1 Young Gun bin was what I was searching for, and then I found myself
to the
diving
into the
value bin.
Exactly.
So it was really the Young Gun dollar bin that really had me searching for that one. So that's our Leon pick of the weekend. I was super happy to grab that one. Next up, I picked up, and I think this player is going to be very good in the future. A guy that his Young Guns don't go for $1, but really caught my eye when he was playing for Team Canada. Olin Zellweger picked up his Young Guns Outburst. Wasn't the best condition, a little bit of damage on this top right, but I was super fired up to pick up this one. Goes for around $30. So when I did see it in your value bin, as you say, in a value bin, I was super fired up to grab this. So I think in the future, I'm going to keep on buying Zellweger, but be a little bit more tentative with his market because he is a defenseman.
Well, that and Young Guns, as we talked about at the beginning, softer market on Young Guns nowadays too.
Absolutely. And I think so. This was kind of my last coolest favorite pickup of the weekend, and kind of what morphed my perspective, I think, going forward for a new player that I really want to start picking up. And I think there's still a lot of room for him to grow. Canadian kid, did well in the World Juniors, always hyped up as a young kid. But I picked up this Shane Wright rookie autographs. So this is the blue tracks, not numbered, color match too, which I absolutely love this card. I love his auto, and I love his market right now. I think he's dirt cheap. He's been playing well this year. He's been playing with Seattle most of the season, and I know that was kind of the biggest battle with collecting his cards was he was in the AHL most of the time, wasn't able to make the big squad, but he's there now, hiding behind Chandler Stevenson and Yanni Gord, who should get traded at the deadline. I think that there's a lot of room for Shane Wright's market. And like I said, too, the look of this card, I just absolutely love it. Love his autograph. And I think going forward, I'm just going to start picking up more Shane Wright stuff when I see it because people love him. They know him, and he's playing well. He's a great player with a very fair price for his market. So those are my 3 favorite pickups of the weekend.
I love it. I didn't pick 3. I had like a big lot of cards that I liked, and a couple more that didn't quite make the list. But this was a nice little pickup, little Bo Horvat Future Watch auto. Grabbed that the PSA 9 slab. I got a Lucas Dostal PSA 10 retro Future Watch auto out of Lucas Dostal, one of the better up and coming goaltenders in the league. I got the pair of Young Guns of both Willie and Mitch Marner, both in a PSA 10. So I got those at a very reasonable price. So I was really happy to pick those up. Those always move at least because those are very highly sought after players. I got a nice little nice little Leafs auto lot as well. A couple of Matthew Nyes. Little Matthew Nyes Future Watch auto right there. Gotta love it. Again, playing really, really well. Also got a SP Authentic Pageantry rookie auto out of Matthew Nyes. Those are short printed. And a Fraser Minton Future Watch retro auto as well. I was able to get at a $6.99. A good old Fraser Minton. We'll continue with the retro Future Watch autos. Got a Dustin Wolf, who's making a bit of a case for Rookie of the Year, I might say. His market has been terrific. So I got a rookie Future Watch Auto or Retro number to 199. So the good one to get. A Marco Rossi rookie auto from the Ultimate Collection I also picked up. And then two other cards here. We'll show this one first. This is arguably the nastiest patch that I've picked up in a long time. You know me, I love the aesthetics of like really good patches or patch autos. I saw this on the table and I just had to have it. So I think I paid strong on it, but it's a card that I think is going in the PC. It's just beautiful. Look at this.
Oh, look at that. That's incredible. That's
Dual rookie,
nasty.
dual rookie patch-tacular, Lucas Dostal, Pyotr Kochetkov, both rookie cards, numbered to 25, and just the most nasty patches of all time. Both part of the chess logos of the team, so the hurricane and the duck logo, and it is just beautiful. Like, look how many color breaks there are in these. Like the texture to them, it is just gorgeous, and it's two of the best up and coming young goaltenders in the league. I thought this was an unbelievable pickup. Such a cool looking card. And I just love getting pickups like this. And then this is probably the biggest pickup that I had of the weekend. It was Black Diamond Stars, Sidney Crosby auto numbered to 10 with a little purple ruby in it as well. That was
Wow.
a really nice card that I was able to pick up through trade with someone at the CSC show. So that was a really cool pickup that I made there. So super happy with what I was able to do this weekend. I sold a lot of big cards, and I then put the money back into the hobby and bought some big cards to replenish it. That's what it's all about, buddy. That's what it's all about,
Love it.
for sure. Before we go, just want to remind everybody that this podcast is powered by Slab Sharks, and Slab Sharks is the #1 sports consignment company in Canada. They've got thousands of listings each week, and you can use the QR code here if you would like, and it can bring you to the Slab Sharks auction each Thursday night. They have auctions going off starting from 7 p.m. and going all throughout the night. Thousands and thousands of cards and collectibles available. And you can also, in the link below, we'll have our link. You can become our show sponsor, or no, you can be part of our affiliation program. And we can help you consign with Slab Sharks if you would like. You can message us or click the link down below to get started there. A couple of shows this weekend too, Anthony. I might add, do you plan on going out to any of them? Saturday, got the MSC Sports Card Show. There's a TCG and collectible show in Etobicoke as well. And then Sunday, got the Leaside Sports Card Show and the Box of Cards Show in Aurora. Anything tickle your fancy? You gonna make it out there?
Yeah, nothing right now. I've been to a couple of them. I don't mind them, but I think this weekend I'm gonna spend most of the time just chilling, relaxing, watch a little bit of football on Sunday. I don't anticipate going to any shows. I almost say that every single episode, and then I always end up at one Saturday morning when I'm doing nothing. I'm like, yep, all right, let's drive 40 minutes to pick up some cards. So we'll see what happens. But I do know that that Leaside Sports Card Show has been a good time every time I've showed up. So if it's gonna be one, I think I'll be there.
Yeah, that's the one that I've kind of circled myself. So we'll see. But that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. To thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe right here on YouTube. You can also subscribe to us for you on the go audio listeners on Spotify as well. We'll be back with another. We'll be back next Wednesday with another episode of the Hockey Card Haven podcast.